BMW X7 is kind of a big deal. So big, in fact, it lets you arrive at an event in a vehicle that seems larger than the venue, and you can take 6 other people along for the ride. You see, the X7 is the biggest car BMW makes, and it traverses 2 car classes, 7-seaters and luxury SUVs. As well as offering seemingly endless interior space, it aims to pamper its driver and passengers as attentively as the BMW 7 Series luxury limo. But is the BMW X7 really good enough to tempt you away from its talented premium badged rivals, including the Audi Q7, the Mercedes GLS and the Range Rover? The BMW engine range kicks off with the mightily impressive xDrive 40D, which has a 347 brake horsepower 6-cylinder diesel engine that helps this big SUV sprint from 0 to 62 miles per hour in a remarkably swift 5.9 seconds. It's our favorite of the X7's engines because it offers strong and smooth acceleration that allows you to demolish long journeys, yet it's also hushed and subdued in all situations. If you don't want a diesel, your best bet is the 6-cylinder petrol xDrive 40i. Its engine is quiet when you want it to be, and pleasantly snarly when you're pressing on. It offers fractionally quicker acceleration than the 40D, which goes 0 to 62 miles per hour in 5.8 seconds, but you do need to rev the engine a bit harder to access that performance, and fuel economy is nowhere near as good. The most potent engine is under the bonnet of the M60i. It has a 4.4-liter V8 petrol with a ridiculous 523 brake horsepower to help the X7 see off 0 to 62 miles per hour in 4.7 seconds. It's a great engine, too, but it's hardly the sensible choice. All engines are paired with an 8-speed automatic gearbox that shifts gears quickly and smoothly, but also allows you to take manual control using paddles behind the steering wheel. There can sometimes be a small delay when you plant your right foot to ask for brisk acceleration, but it's nothing compared with the pregnant pause that afflicts some luxury SUVs. When it comes to ride comfort, the standard air suspension does a fine job of soaking up whatever the road can throw at it. The X7 is more comfortable than the Mercedes GLS and gives the Audi Q7 a run for its money on a motorway. It even edges the Range Rover for comfort, which has active anti-roll bars to help keep it more upright through corners and stick with 21-inch wheels. This is a big, heavy car, so it doesn't feel as light on its toes as a Porsche Cayenne or the smaller BMW X5, even if you go for the M60i. Nevertheless, it's surprisingly agile if you put the standard air suspension in its sport setting. In common with other big BMWs, the steering is accurate, smooth, and reassuringly weighted. You wouldn't describe the X7 as a fun or rewarding car to drive along a meandering country road, but few luxury SUVs are. Plus, the X7 is one of the quietest cars we've ever tested, with very little tire or wind noise, whether you're munching through motorway miles or negotiating urban traffic. In town, the optional 4-wheel steering, standard on the M60i, greatly aids maneuverability by turning the rear wheels in the opposite direction to the fronts. It's a must-have if you do lots of driving in built-up areas. Off-road, the X7 is able to tackle rougher ground than most buyers will ask of it. You can also select the optional X off-road package with the 40i and 40D engines. This adds drive settings to suit different terrains and extra underbody protection. The ultimate off-roading luxury SUV is still the Range Rover, though. Every surface you touch inside the BMW X7 simply screams quality and craftsmanship, and no rival short of the vastly more expensive Bentley Bentayga can compete for build quality. That said, we can see why you'd prefer the more restrained, conservative design of the Range Rover's interior, or the more flamboyant look in the Mercedes GLS. In terms of layout, the X7's dashboard is similar to the BMW X5's, with the same curved 14.9-inch infotainment touchscreen and adjoining 12.3-inch display behind the steering wheel for the digital instruments. The infotainment system is generally really easy to use and can be operated using an extremely intuitive rotary controller positioned between the seats, or by using the voice control system. When you're driving, both methods are less distracting than stabbing away at the touchscreen. The only slight disappointment is that there are no physical controls for the air conditioning. Instead, you have to adjust the interior temperature either by using the touchscreen or firing out voice commands. The Range Rover's physical switches and knobs are less distracting to use on the move. Behind the wheel, you'll find a typically high-set luxury SUV driving position. You get electrically adjustable front seats as standard, which are effortlessly easy to fine-tune and also extremely comfortable. Both front seats are heated as standard, but you can add a massaging function and seat ventilation if you wish. While there are no notable flaws when it comes to the X7's visibility, a car this bulky can present a few maneuvering challenges. Fortunately, front and rear parking sensors, all-round cameras, and a self-parking system come as standard. The BMW X7 is simply huge, bigger even than a standard wheelbase Range Rover, and as a result has masses of interior space. It's tall and airy in the front, and so wide that the driver could almost feel like they're in a different postcode to their front passenger. There'll be no shoulder rubbing going on here. There's also plenty of room for those on the second row seats to stretch out, and with no shortage of head, leg, or shoulder room, 3 adults sitting side by side will be relatively comfortable. The second row even gets a climate control zone for each side of the car, along with heated seats for the outer passengers. The seats can be moved forwards and backwards electrically in a 60/40th split, or folded in a 40/20/40 arrangement. The X7 offers a third row of seats as standard, meaning it can carry up to 7 people. With the Range Rover, you have to go for the eye-wateringly expensive long wheelbase version, then pay even more money for an optional third row. And when you do, it's still not quite as roomy as in the X7, especially in terms of headroom. What's more, you can opt to add a further climate control zone to the third row of the X7, taking the total number to 5. Unsurprisingly, the X7's third row seats are very spacious. Even a couple of 6-footers will fit comfortably enough. Access to the third row is good, too, thanks in part to wide rear doors that reveal a large gap to clamber through. If you don't need a 7-seater, you can order your X7 as a 6-seater, with an even more luxurious layout. It costs a bit more and replaces the 3-person second row bench with 2 individual chairs, each with its own armrests. As for the boot, the X7 retains the smaller X5 split-folding tailgate layout, with a lower section that flips out to serve as a handy perch to sit on when you're taking off muddy wellies. There's space in the boot for a couple of suitcases even when the third row seats are in use. In 5-seat mode, the boot is enormous, and the load area is positively monstrous when the second and third rows are, electrically, folded away. There are also some handy underfloor storage compartments. That is for today. Make sure to like and subscribe.